Hey, everybody. I'm just waiting for Instagram to pop up. Hi, everybody. Amanda here. I am coming to you live today to talk to you about SIBO. Okay, so this is serious. We're going to talk about SIBO. Some of you may have heard of it. It's becoming more popular in the medical field these days in the health and wellness industry, and more talked about. And what it is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, okay? And so this can happen in the body. Basically, when we think about bacteria, we always think about good bacteria, right? Everybody's like, oh, you got to take your probiotics and get that good bacteria in the gut. And that is true for the large intestine, where we want a lot of bacteria flourishing and functioning, but not true for the small intestine, whatever you want to call it. It actually is meant to be fairly sterile. And the reason why is because that is where the majority of your digestion is happening. So, your food's coming in and that's where it's breaking it down, it's absorbing it, etc. And what happens is when there is bacteria in that space, it begins to basically have a party and be like, sweet, look at all these awesome things for me to chomp on, and begins to eat all these things and feed off of it, basically causing malabsorption for you of not getting your nutrients and your minerals and all the things that you need to function well, be the building block for hormonal health, etc. And they start to produce gas, okay? And this gas can lead to bloating. So 96% of bloating cases are caused from SIBO. Okay, so that's a lot, and it can really make you uncomfortable in your body. So there's actually 3 different types of SIBO, which is one misunderstanding about it. So there is a methane dominant gas SIBO, there's a hydrogen dominant gas SIBO, and there's a hydrogen sulfate dominant gas SIBO. Okay, and we actually only have a way to test for the top 2. The sulfate one, we don't have a way of testing right now, but that one produces a lot of gas that smells like stinky eggs. Awesome. And the other 2, the first one, the methane, is actually more attributed to constipation, and the second one is more attributed to diarrhea. So you can actually have a combo of some of all those symptoms, but basically you want to have a test done to find out exactly what kind of SIBO that you have, because there's a different protocol for either kind. So the only test that's really the most efficient is a 3-hour lactulose breath test. So you'll read something about 1 hour or 2 hour, but the most effective is actually a 3-hour test. And that is really important to take. So a lot of people will start to self-diagnose. Is anybody guilty of like Google and being like, oh, I think I have this, and then starting to take supplements and really not addressing the root cause? This is a huge issue. So what causes SIBO in the first place? So there's something called the MMC, the migrating motor complex, and that is the body's ability. It's a sweeping motion of pushing down bacteria and all sorts of things out of the small intestine into the large intestine, and that on a healthy individual happens about 40 times a day. And what happens is you either have been introduced to either a parasite or an infection of sorts. It could be, food poisoning, whatever. Typically parasites that can cause this motor complex to be paralyzed. Okay, so then what starts to happen is, instead of sweeping down about 40 times a day, it's only doing it once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, which you can imagine the effects of that. All that bacteria is just starting to overgrow there and produce this very uncomfortable gas. So one of the problems that happens is people get diagnosed with SIBO and they start to do a protocol just for SIBO, and they don't address the root issue or other bacteria infections or other things like parasites that are causing the root problem. We always want to get down to the root problem. So I always recommend doing a GI map first, which will show me if you've got parasites and if you need to be on a parasite protocol before doing a SIBO protocol. So that will actually lead to having more relief versus like it just coming back over and over and over again, because we're not addressing the root issue. The other thing that can cause it is actually a valve malfunction for you in between your small and large intestine. There's a valve there, and it works to keep that nice and sealed and blocked. And so when it's not working, bacteria from the large intestine can backflow up into the small intestine. And this valve can be irritated by a lot of things. It could be a physical actually harm that's come either from a car accident or surgery, something like that. But also it can be irritated by stimulating foods like coffee, tea, soda, spicy food, sugar, chocolate, processed foods, popcorn, all of those things can cause that valve to get irritated and not function well. Okay, so if you're really sensitive to those type of foods, that could be why. And if you feel really crappy afterwards, that could be why. So we want to address that being a cause too. And I want to say also that SIBO actually does lead to leaky gut because some of the properties that also happen cause the things to be basically the parts of your intestine that are supposed to be really close together on that wall to protect you from leaking out into your body, those actually start to be loosened by the same infection that, you know, the parasites that are causing the freezing of the MMC. So this is stuff that we need to address because it all leads to other problems down the line. But most important is to find out exactly what's happening for you and to figure out what we need to do to solve the problem. So yeah, some of these symptoms, like I said, you know, are gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, etc. Can lead to fatigue, can lead to feeling just really uncomfortable in your body. Low stomach acid can also be contributed to this. So the other thing that people do wrong is they start a low FODMAPs diet, which most people probably have heard about, and something, you know, to keep those carbohydrates low and those sugars low that the bacteria feed off of. But the problem is if you do this at the same time as you're doing a protocol to kind of sweep it out and kill that bacteria, you're actually negating the solution because we need it to be alive and active in order for it to work. So all those bacteria actually go dormant and the SIBO is not as active, and then we're shooting in this protocol to kind of solve it and nothing's really happening. And then you get off the protocol and then maybe say you want to introduce a food that's not on the FODMAPs, and then everything gets reactivated again. And here we are back at square one, which is why people who have this issue can get really exasperated by not feeling like they're getting it solved. So these are some things I just wanted to bring to your awareness of. Most importantly, get a GI map test done, figure out what's going on in your body. It's fascinating to see how much stuff is in there calling the shots, whether that's parasites, overgrowth bacteria, all sorts of inflammatory markers. Really important. I offer the GI map test to my clients. This is something I suggest that you do if you have digestive issues. And instead of just rushing into self-diagnosis of SIBO, let's start at the root cause and fix that so then we can address the SIBO so that it doesn't come back. Okay, so I just wanted to share this with you today. Again, my name is Amanda. I'm a health, happiness, and hormone coach, passionate about women feeling at home in their body, both physically and emotionally. And I address both of those root causes to help you have freedom. Thank you for joining me today. I love that some of you here were here live. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to answer them as best as I can. And just hope that you feel a little bit educated and empowered by this information today. All right, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.